You think it's good sideboard? I don't know. Against removal, sure. If they have lots of removal, it can be better. And the better your bombs get, the better this gets, probably. I'll take off the F, that's fair. And there are times you'll want to play this. Unsubstantiate. 1 in a blue for an instant. And you get to return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. This is pretty sick. So it's like a fuse between Remand and Vapor Snag. You could bounce a creature and interact with your opponent that way, or you can sort of Remand a spell. This is strong. And mostly the reason it's strong is because you can mess with combat. If your opponent tries to double block, you can unsubstantiate one of their creatures. Or if your opponent tries to combat trick you, you can 2-for-1 them with this card. I think this is going to be really nice. You're going to take this pretty high if you're playing blue. Let's call this like a B minus. At the end of the day, it won't get rid of the problem, right? Because it's not actually getting rid of something, but it's strong enough at interacting that I think you're going to be able to get a card's worth out of this most of the time. So very flexible. Next card, Vexing Scuttler. 8 mana for a 4/5. I'm not in yet, but it says emerge for 6 in a blue. You may cast this spell by sacking a creature, yada yada. And then when you cast it, you may return target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I don't love this. So this belongs in the same deck as Enlightened Maniac and Exultant Cultist. You want to be casting this on turn probably 5 or so, maybe 5 or 6, where you play the Exultant Cultist and maybe like a counter spell, and then you emerge the Vexing Scuttler out. I don't think this is as good as the other ones we've seen, so I'm going to call it like a C. It's okay reward, but most of the time it's not going to be game breaking. The art is an A+. Oh yeah, that is cool art, isn't it? Also, Archaeomancer was a fun card to play. Yeah, but on curve it's a 5 mana 4/5, only if you're sacking a creature though. You will get it for 4 or 5 mana, a fair amount, but you have to sack a creature to do it. That's the problem. Can play this in Emergence. That's also true. You know, that's an interesting thought. Like, the more emerged creatures you have, the better they get, in a weird way. Not really, because at the end of the day, you'll still have a shit ton of expensive things in your deck, but yeah, something to think about. You can merge creatures into other ones. Blue's got a couple of dudes who want to die, yeah. Alright, Wharf Infiltrator. 1 in a blue for 1/1 Skulker. Alright, what does it do? It says when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard. Okay, so this is like a fixed Merfolk Looter. Or maybe not the loot. No, not that one. What's the one? The Core Looter. What's the Core Looter guy? Looter. Oh, Looter Ilkor. That's what his name is. Yeah. Okay. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2. If you do, you put a 3/2 onto the field. This is hard to evaluate. So the real question is, how often is this going to connect? Because by far the most relevant text on this card is when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Like, that matters. Looting is a very powerful effect. The Skulk is basically just text that makes the second line more likely to happen. But there's a fair amount of things that have 1 power out there, so there's no guarantee that it's going to be getting through. Even if it didn't have the third line of text, I would probably play this in most blue decks. It's a high variance card. Sometimes it's going to be mostly useless. Other times it's going to just be dominant. And it's going to completely shape the way the game is played. And yeah, like, but having said that, this is card advantage when you're discarding creatures. And if you do get to discard a madness creature, though I'd say that that's not going to happen very often, then you're in real value town, right? So this is hard to rate. I think this is probably like a C+, just because sometimes it's going to be very, very good. But it's not always, and so that's why I don't want to give it higher than that. Maybe C+ or B-. Yeah, if you are discarding a creature for 2 mana and then manacing a creature, which is probably going to cost like 3 mana, 4 mana, you're paying 5 or 6 mana, and your opponent has to have no creatures able to block the Wharf Infiltrator, and your opponent has to have not killed the Wharf Infiltrator. So it's, it's high variance. This can get there, but it's not going to get there that often. I think the chance that it does is worth playing it, though. So that's my opinion on Wharf Infiltrator. So let's call this a C+. I like C+. Can be very powerful, but overall, I think that this, let's just say it's a high variance card. Yeah. Very high variance. Okay, next. Wretched Griff. 7 mana for a 3/4. We're not playing that, but it says emerge for 5 in a blue, which makes it a lot cheaper. And when you cast it, draw a card. So it replaces the creature that you sacked for it. This is really good, in my opinion. Excuse me. And I'm glad that there's this kind of common reward for the emerge archetype, because what you're going to want to do is play something like what's it called? Exultant Cultist into Wretched Griff. So you play a creature that when it dies draws a card, and then the next turn for 3 mana you play Wretched Griff, you sack that creature and you draw 2 cards, and now you have a 3/4 flyer and you're up 2 cards. That's pretty good. So this is going to be, I think, the backbone of these emerge decks. Remember that on average in most sets you're going to that aren't like most modern sets, you're going to open around 2.5 of every common at the table. So these are going to be available. You're probably going to be able to get one at least of these if you want it. So I like this quite a lot. You'd only be up 1 card, is that true? Well, you've also played the 3/4 though, Selrandon. So that replaced itself, and then you have 2 cards in hand. More or less. This is a pretty high pick. I think this is a B- or maybe a C+. This is solid, because a 3/4 flyer is just a really good body. And you're going to pay 3 mana for it on average, I think. Maybe 2. So let's call this a C+, B-. Really solid value. I like it. Okay, fair, Selrandon. You do... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I guess the point of contention is you'll have a 3/4 flyer at the end of the day. Three-four flyer kills most spirits. Yeah. You're assuming Enlightened Maniac has as high as a rating it does because of Emerge. Yes, that is the point. I think that those 2 commons in particular... Whoops. Uh-oh. Those 2 commons in particular Enlightened Maniac and Zoltan Cultist. Those are the two that are going to define. Those are what's going to define the set. All right, and I'm setting things up for our partner in crime. 100% this is Tom. It is not Tom, Phyllis. My apologies. It is not Tom. Nice try, though. So, chat, what do you think about blue? Let's do our vote again. Do you think it's a great color, a good color, an average color, a mediocre color, or a bad color? Let's see what you think. This is somebody that I used to know. I know this person. I've met this person many times. Well, I don't know about many, but quite a few. I think blue is going to be solid, but not absurd. I think I'd call it on that scale, I'd call it like a B or B minus. It seems strong, but it's very synergy dependent. The cards in blue don't really stand up all that well on their own. So how good it is will entirely depend on how well you've drafted the deck that you're trying to play. There we go. And sorry about the delay. I'm trying to set up the partner, the buddy that we're going to have along with us. There we go. All right. Let's get this going.
Heyo.
Hey, how's it going? So the chat was trying to guess who you are. They were not very good at guessing. One person guessed you, but hang on, I need a...
Who was it? Who was it?
Oh, I forget, but I actually made you a fancy little icon.
Ooh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me on, man. I've never done a set review.
Yeah? Well, you should, because they're a lot of fun.
Good, I'm ready to have some fun.
Let me fix this a little bit. Let's see, select region.
So you guys just finished up... What did you finish up here?
There we go. Hang on.
So,
oh my god, your face is too big.
I'm
kidding.
No, it is a big face. I have very defined features, you know?
Yeah? Hang on, I'm just fixing the dimensions on everything.
I was. Do you have two separate screens, by the way?
I have two. I need to get a
Okay.
third though. Like the more screens you get, the more you need another one.
I realized that when I sent you that Facebook message, I was like, oh no, oh no.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All right, so I think we're set up now. Oh shit! I need to move this a little bit. And yeah, all right.